Hi there, I'm here to just get this out. I've been going through therapy for what's happened to me over the last few years, and I've been told that writing out my feelings would help, so here I am. I started dating my first real girlfriend during COVID in 2020. I'll call her Sonia. We actually met at the grocery store because I held the door open for her. It was a small act of kindness, but it led to a brief conversation about the challenges of grocery shopping during the pandemic, and not just the challenges of grocery shopping, but life in general, as most of us know. Her smile was warm, and her eyes sparkled with the kind of light that made the gray, stressful atmosphere of that time feel a little brighter. I say real because it was really my first serious relationship. Back in 2020, I was the young sprout of 23. Sonia was a couple of years older than me and working as a nurse. Her dedication and passion for her job were evident from the start, and it was one of the things I admired most about her. Despite the chaos of the pandemic, she always found time to listen to my worries and offer comfort. Her empathy and strength were like a rock I would cling to amidst the storm. It was honestly one of the worst times, but she made life feel good and bright, if that makes sense. We both weren't alone. We had each other. We watched each other hit rock bottom, me losing a job, her dealing with work. But we had each other. She had this infectious enthusiasm for life that drew me in. Whether we were talking about her favorite books, sharing music, or just walking in the park, she made everything feel special. I fell in love with her kindness, her intelligence, and the way she would make even the most mundane moments feel magical. She had a quirky sense of humor that never failed to make me laugh, even on my worst days. She had this incredible ability to make me feel seen and understood in a way no one else ever had. Here I am today, still trying to process everything that happened between us and where things went wrong. It comes in waves. Writing this down is supposed to help, and maybe it will. At the very least, it's a chance to remember the good times and honor what we had. So, it sort of started right before our 1-year anniversary. She came home from work one night, and I had this awful gut feeling that I'd never felt before. The energy between us was all off. She was supposed to come over after work, but tried to bail. She had come from work totally exhausted before and had bailed on me other days because of the hard days at the hospital, which I totally understood. But that day just felt different. Normally, when Sonia was too tired to see me, she'd still call or text with her usual warmth, apologizing and promising to make it up to me. But that evening, her messages were short, almost cold. When I insisted on seeing her, she reluctantly agreed, and it had sort of been like that the entire week. When she arrived, she looked more than just tired. She seemed distant, like her mind was a million miles away and she wasn't telling me something. Her usual smile was missing, replaced by a forced, almost robotic expression. We sat down for dinner that I had made for us, but the conversation was strained. Sonia barely spoke. I tried to lighten the mood, bringing up our favorite inside jokes and shared memories, but nothing seemed to reach her. As the night wore on, my anxiety grew. I kept asking myself if I had done something wrong, or if something had happened at work until I couldn't take it anymore, and gently confronted her, asking if everything was okay. She sighed deeply, avoiding my gaze, and told me she was just really tired and stressed from work. But her words felt hollow and lacked sincerity. For the first time in our relationship, I felt a pang of insecurity, wondering if there was something she wasn't telling me. My mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. Was she unhappy with me? Was there someone else? The uncertainty gnawed at me, and I struggled to push those thoughts aside, trying to convince myself that I was overreacting. That night, as we lay in bed, the distance between us felt like an insurmountable chasm. She fell asleep quickly, but I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. I can't really explain the feeling. It felt more intuitive than anything. I'm sure some of you have experienced this before. I know it was probably wrong to go through her phone, but I honestly had to know. Even if nothing was really wrong, I just had to squash it. I'm ashamed to admit that I went through her phone. I stumbled upon a thread of messages with a name I didn't recognize. My heart sank as I read through them. I don't know what I initially thought I would find, but a part of me really hoped that I wouldn't come across anything like that. There were flirty texts, sexting, late-night conversations, and multiple plans to meet up. My worst fears were being confirmed right before my eyes. As I dug deeper, I found more messages with other men, revealing that she had been cheating on me for what seemed like our entire relationship. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. The woman I loved, the one I thought I knew so well, had been living a double life. Every memory we had together now felt tainted, every moment of happiness a cruel joke. I felt a surge of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak all at once. I couldn't breathe, my chest tightening as I tried to process the enormity of what I had discovered. I called my brother in tears. In the morning, I confronted her, and I was instantly met with crocodile tears. I'm sorry. And manipulation by threatening self-harm. She played the victim card, and me, being young and dumb, fell for it. Eventually, I caved. She brought up this idea of having an open relationship. I wasn't ready to let her go just yet. I blamed myself and apologized for not being good enough for her to want to stay with one man. At the time, she let me take the fall. I told her I'd be a better man. I tried the open relationship thing, but I didn't meet with any other women. It was mostly just her speaking to guys and claiming that she wasn't speaking to the same guy she had been cheating on me with. There were times that she wanted to bring a third person into the bedroom with us, and in fear of her leaving me, I agreed. But the kicker is, she didn't want it to be a female. She only wanted male third parties. Like a fool, I agreed. It was about 6 months of that before I asked her to move in with me because I couldn't trust her. We spoke about getting married and starting a poly relationship. I had entertained it for a little bit, but I thought that by living together, I might be able to control something in our relationship. But I quickly realized that that was a naive hope. She started asking if other people could move in with us, pushing the boundaries even further. I resisted. I didn't want our home to become a revolving door of strangers. Despite my attempts to set limits, I felt increasingly powerless in my own relationship. She started having sex with other partners and turned me down more and more. We had very little sex. Another year passed in this twisted arrangement, and finally, something shifted in me. I got angry and started resenting her. I became really bitter and cold. I couldn't believe that this woman I loved had hurt me so badly. The pain and betrayal festered in me until it transformed into a dark desire for revenge. I decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. I went out and met women, bringing them home and asking Sonia if we could have threesomes. She got mad at me for even asking, which was the height of hypocrisy, considering what she had put me through. I made sure she saw the flirtatious texts and provocative pictures on my phone. I'd come home late smelling of perfume and wouldn't offer any explanations. I wouldn't tell her who I was with, even though it had been one of our rules. I wanted her to feel the same paranoia and heartbreak I had endured for so long. Seeing her anger felt like a twisted vindication, but it didn't bring the satisfaction I had hoped for. Instead, it just deepened my sense of loss and delusion. The woman I had once loved and admired had become a source of pain and resentment. The relationship that had once brought me so much joy was now a toxic cycle of betrayal and retaliation. The whole thing was really ruining every aspect of my life. I hardly saw my family anymore because I was ashamed. When I did see them, they complained that they didn't even know who I was anymore. My brother mentioned how unhappy and sad I looked. Finally, one day in 2023, I woke up and wondered to myself, what the hell am I doing? Who even am I? I didn't recognize the person I'd become. Sonia and I were now basically just roommates. We weren't sleeping in the same bed anymore, and our paths hardly crossed. One of these women that I had started seeing in attempts to make Sonia jealous was actually falling in love with me, but I was just trying to keep it purely physical. I didn't want to hurt people like Sonia was hurting me, so I broke it off. At this point, I told Sonia that I couldn't do this anymore, and that I was just wasting my life away with this soul sucker who cheats on me right in front of my eyes. I asked her to move out, which wasn't easy. At first, she straight up refused to accept it. She said she wasn't moving out, and I said if she wasn't leaving, I was going to pack up her stuff and leave it on the front lawn. She told me that I was throwing everything away. She said that I couldn't just kick her out because it was our place. I said that it was actually my place and she was the worst roommate I'd ever had. Then the floodgates opened, and I told her that she was an evil person who just wanted to hurt me, and that I'd been a dead man walking since I first discovered she cheated on me. She told me I was being dramatic and said that this whole life takes two people. She said that I knew what I was getting into the moment I agreed to open the relationship. She said that I could have said no at any moment. Then she called me a weak little boy and told me that I was a quitter. I said that she was the one that gave up the moment she decided to cheat on me and continue to cheat on me. I said that I tried to make it work, and the argument escalated from there. She accused me of being selfish and unreasonable, of abandoning our relationship without trying hard enough to fix it. I countered by listing all the ways she had hurt me, the countless nights I had spent agonizing over her betrayals, the times I had swallowed my pride and pain to keep us together. From there, I just started packing up her stuff and carrying it out to the lawn, even the tiniest things that I knew she had bought, like planter pots and bottles of wine. Anything that was hers, I just wanted out of there. She started yelling at me and pushing me. At one point, she tried to be physical with me, and I had to lock her out of the house. She called one of her partners, and then it only escalated from there. The police got involved. Basically, her partner and I got physical. I was defending myself and bled all over my front porch. I ended up charging him, and he spent a few nights in jail. Sonia tried to come back the next day, sobbing and trying to apologize. She asked me where she was supposed to go, and I told her that she could go to any of the other partners that she had, or friends, or family. I should have told her that I was done. She was hysterical. I told her that I can't keep living like this. She continued to resist, making every excuse to delay the inevitable. She played on my emotions, reminding me of the good times and the plans we had made for the future. I told her she had to pack her stuff, and I didn't want to see her again. I said I'd help her pack up her stuff and load it into a vehicle, and that it had to be out by the end of the day. The reality of the situation began to sink in for her. After hours of back and forth, tears and vomit. Yes, she puked from hyperventilating. She finally caved, though it was clear she was far from accepting it. As I was moving stuff outside, she said, "I hope you know what you're doing." I told her that it was something I should have done a long time ago. My brother and his wife ended up coming over to help and for moral support, and I appreciate the heck out of them for that. As she drove away for the last time, I felt a tumult of emotions. There was relief in reclaiming my space and my life, but also a profound sadness for the love that had been lost and the future that would never be. After that, I blocked her on my phone and on social media. It may be dramatic, but I burned whatever she had left. Practically anything that would remind me of her was gone. This first real relationship turned out to be a painful experience, one that shattered my naive expectations of love. The betrayal and heartache taught me more about myself and the complexity of relationships than I could have ever imagined. It was a bad first relationship, no doubt about it. I learned the hard way about the importance of trust, communication, and self-respect. Despite the pain, it also taught me to recognize my own worth and the necessity of setting boundaries. It showed me that true love shouldn't come at the cost of my own happiness and well-being. In the end, this experience shaped me. It made me more aware of what I need and deserve in a relationship. It was a harsh lesson, but one that ultimately made me stronger and more prepared for future relationships. If it's any consolation, I heard from one of our friends that Sonia had been let go from her role at the hospital because she had been severely underperforming. Some of her colleagues had been complaining about her. I guess I wasn't the only one who had issues with her and trusting her. Apparently, she had been stealing medication for some of her partners and not filling out patient charts properly. Last I heard, hospital administrators are reportedly conducting an internal investigation to assess the impact of Sonia's conduct on patient care and workplace dynamics. Anyways, thanks for reading this. If I can offer any advice after all of this, it's that if something feels off in your relationship, don't ignore it. Trust your gut instincts and address any concerns you have with your partner. Don't settle for less than you deserve. You deserve to be with someone who respects and values you, who is faithful and committed to building a healthy, loving relationship. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, a relationship may not be healthy or fulfilling. Don't be afraid to walk away if it's no longer serving you or bringing you happiness. Remember, it's okay to prioritize your own happiness and well-being. Reaction. Well, let's unpack this carnival of chaos, shall we? From grocery store meet-cutes to front porch showdowns, you've really covered the spectrum. Who knew holding the door open could lead to such a wild ride? And let's give it up for Sonia, the master of manipulation and the queen of crocodile tears. I mean, threatening self-harm to avoid accountability. That's next-level emotional gymnastics right there. And open relationships? More like opening Pandora's box of disaster. But hey, at least you had a shining moment of clarity amidst the chaos. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to realize there's only one way to go from there. Up. Kicking Sonia to the curb? That's just the first step on the road to redemption. So here's to you, the survivor of the relationship apocalypse. You faced the fire-breathing dragon of deceit and came out the other side stronger, wiser, and with a few battle scars to brag about. And if anyone tries to tell you it was all for nothing, just remind them you've got a PhD in relationship dysfunction and you're not afraid to use it. Do you have a similar story? Share it with us in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on Cheating Secrets Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time. See